Today's project is very sunny indeed. For this project, you're going to need some brown Aran weight yarn, some yellow Aran weight yarn, and some green Decor weight yarn. You're going to need an I-cord maker, and this is the Prim model, a scissors, a tapestry needle, a crochet hook. You're also going to need some stuffing, and I got yarn ends and everything in mine. You're also going to need some wire in order to support the sunflower, and I'm using this Benny Create 3mm aluminium craft wire. And it's gold. So if you check out my sunny wall hanging video, you will find how to make the flower on that video. For this project, you need to knit up another 6 20-row pieces in order to form the petals of the flower, and form them exactly as I show you in the sunny wall hanging video. These are 20 rows each on the 22 pin machine. You'll need to make 2 leaves for this project. You can leave them off if you want to, but we're going to make 2 leaves. This is one I've already done, and I'll run you briefly through now how to do a leaf. Basically, it's exactly the same as doing the petals, okay? So we've done our 20 rows again, DK this time, so you don't want it too thick. And I've seamed up the edge. Again, check the other video for the sunny wall hanging, and that'll show you what to do there. And I've buried one tail in the end of the work. With this one, we just cinch up the end. Pop the tail on a darning needle, okay, and you can go around the circle if you want to, catching all the stitches, but I'm just going to put a couple of little stitches in there like that, because it's not imperative. This is going to be at the back of the work, and that's basically it until you turn it into the leaf. Grab it like that on the sides and pull it apart, and you'll find that your join line there will be upright, and if you form it like that, you end up with what looks like a leaf. Now you do get a little bit of bagging there, right, admittedly, especially on 20 rows, because it is a little long, to be honest, but this is the size that I want to go for. If you make the leaf a little smaller, you don't get quite so much bagging, so the smaller you go, the less bagging you get. But what I'm going to do is make sure that the tip of that seam there is right at the top, center my seam, and I'm going to put a few stitches from back to front to hold that in place, like that. Just a few small stitches, won't be seen, like that. And there we go. There's our one leaf, and there's our other leaf there, all nicely done and ready to attach to the stem of our flower. Okay, and of course you can use this sunflower in order to make a sunny wall hanging. Just make it a sunflower wall hanging. Okay, so moving along then. Now for the centre of this flower, and as I've shown you, I made one before in the sunny wall hanging style, okay, the sunny wall decor video. Check that one out. I keep mentioning it just so you don't miss out on the part of the make process there. Okay, and in that video I did 30 rows for the sun there. Now for this one, because this is a pale colour, the white stuffing doesn't show quite so much, but because I'm using a brown for the centre here, I've doubled up my stitches, so I've done 60, okay, for this one. So in order to do the centre, I'm going to be using the pearl side because it's a sunflower, so I'm going to turn my work the other way around, and we get a little bit more texture that way. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to seal up the inner tube and seal up the outer tube and tie them together. If I can find my tail, that is, there's the tail. So I'm going to cinch those together like that. I like to pop inside and make sure it is properly cinched on the inside, and there it is, nicely cinched there. So now I'm happy to just tie these 2 tails together, nice and tight. Get a nice good cinch on both sides of that tube. Tie those together. And like I said, I'm using an Aran weight yarn for this. So there's our tubes tied together. Now all I'm going to do with mine is I'm just going to snip that off. I'll keep that tail because we're going to need it in a little bit, and I'm going to turn my work inside out And I'm going to flatten that join as much as possible so there's it's nice and smooth as I can get it. All right, now I'm not going to be adding a face onto this one, but by all means, like the sunny wall hanging wall decor video, you can add the eyes and the smiley face and the cheeks if you want to. I'm keeping this as a plain flower. Okay, I'll show you this one again. And that's done like a sun, so I added the eyes and the cheeks and the mouth, and again the video will show you that, the other one. This one we're keeping as a plain flower. So grab your stuffing and pop a little bit of stuffing in there. You don't want too much because, like the wall hanging, we are making this more into a donut. We want it to be flat like that, so we don't want to add too much. And of course we've got double layers now, so we don't need quite so much, so it's a case of flattening and flattening. Okay, so I'm going to grab a little more stuffing. Before I stuff any further, I'm going to grab one of those tails I just chopped off, pop it on a darning needle, and I'm going to do a running stitch along the top edge here. Okay, I'm just going to grab every other stitch. Obviously this is the purl side, so it's not quite as obvious where the stitches are, so I'm just going to pop it wherever my needle kind of finds a gap. Again, my ad hoc style, I know. So all the way around, and then we'll have a look at the stuffing again and see where we are and how we need to adjust that stuffing. Back to the beginning. There we go, great. Now if we're going to flatten that down, maybe a tad more stuffing, not too much. Like I said, we want it to lie flat, like a flat donut. So we're going to push that in there, flatten it all down, squidge it, squidge it, squidge it. I'm going to do a trial, tighten up and see where we are. And I'm kind of happy with that actually. If I line the petals up with that now, it's going to look pretty good. So I'm going to seal that off. I'm going to tie these together, put a knot in there, tie that up, spin it a little bit because I kind of try and secure that knot before I put the second one on. And if you do end up with a little hole, not to worry, just put a few stitches in there and that'll hold it for you. Just checking that now, it looks okay. That's the better side, obviously, the other side, so I'm going to use that one. I'm going to bury my tails now. I might add another little knot there just to be super safe. And I'm definitely going to bury my tails inside the work, and then we can start assembling our project. So there's our tails going in there. Pull them out. Snip them off. Sorted. That's our centerpiece of our sunflower done. Remember, you can mix and match the colours of this. If you did a yellow centre and white petals, you could have a daisy. So happy days. There we go. I'm happy with that. Now the other thing you can do, which I forgot to do then actually, but I will tell you about it. Don't cut your tails off quite so soon. It's a bit premature there. But in order to stop this from turning back into a tube, okay, I should have left my tails on there, guys. Apologies, I'm jumping ahead of myself here. So if your tail was on there, you can put a little stitch in between. So I'll do that now because I've got the other tail left that we snipped off earlier. Like that. And tighten that up again. So do that now with the tail, and that'll stop the piece from turning back into a tube. It'll be just like a little holding piece in between the layers, and again then just bury those tails. So I backtracked a little there. You can do that with your tail. Before I chopped it off there, I missed that little step out. Silly me. So bury that tail in there like that. Great stuff. So now we're back where we started from. Excellent. I'll trim those off. That'll go in my little stuffing pile ready for something else. And there's our centre Done this time. Fabulous. Now then, moving along. So moving along, I've got a length of white yarn here, okay? It's a little bit from my my stuffing stash. And in order to keep track of our centre line here, I'm just going to do a little running stitch. Nothing major that we can pull out later on. So I'm going to leave that tail there like that. And I'm going to do a running stitch like that all the way around, and we can remove that later. But that'll help us keep track of where we need to position our petals. And we can either cut that out. That one's a little bit off. Let's push this one back out a little bit. You've got a bit dry there. There we are. There we go. That'll be our running stitch there back to the beginning. We can either trim those out afterwards or just pull the cord, and hopefully that will come out without any bother. So I'm going to snip that a little bit shorter because I don't need all of that. So that will be now a guide around the centre of our work there. Okay. And now we're going to add the petals one by one. So to add the petals one by one, grab the tail that we cleverly left on. And the same as we did on the sunny wall hanging, we are going to position that part across there really, okay, on that line there. And it doesn't matter where you start, obviously this is just a brown circle. So all we need to do then is to mattress stitch between the petal and the centre all the way around. I'm not being too fussy with my mattress stitch. I'm not grabbing 2 stitches at a time. I'm just grabbing, and I like to dig down like I mostly do in most of my assembly videos and grab a little bit of that stuffing because it helps immensely with the stability of your project. But that's my style. If you've got a style of your own, then go with what you're happy with. I always say, if you're happy with something and you've got a way of doing it yourself, then that's the right way for you. There we go. So do that now all the way around. Back to the petal. Back to the centre. Catch in that stuffing if you can. I'll put it down on the table now so I can get it nice and flat and in the right place. All the way around the side. And what we're going to end up with is a curve on the back there, okay? We're going to have the petal going down at the back, which is really, really pretty. Into the body, catching that stuffing. Into the petal, catching that stuffing. All the way around the back, back to the front. Tie off and bury your tails. Check the positioning of your work as you go to make sure that everything is sitting fine and straight. And pull that mattress stitch in to make that seam nice and taut. Back to the front, pull that stitching in, and that's the first one done. And do the same now with each of those petals, and as we're going along, as we're joining the other petals in, we're going to join each petal together only by about 1 inch. And when I get back to the beginning, I'm going to take my needle back to the back and I'm going to put my securing knot at the back there and bury my tail in the yellow part of the work. There we go, straight through there and straight up on the yellow part so we don't get any contamination coming through on the brown, because that sometimes can happen with the difference in colours. So that's the first one connected onto our sunflower, and we need to connect the others now. So grab another one yarn tail on. Now it depends on whether you want to work to the left or to the right. That's entirely up to you. I'm going to work around to the right, and there we go. I'm going to line it up so they just touch there, and line it up with my little white line as close as I can anyway, and then start the process all over again. Just above that cinch line there, so we don't quite see the cinch line when we're stitching around. And when you get to the other leaf, put a few stitches in between, petal rather than leaf, pull that mattress stitch in, and when you get closer to the other petal, connect them together with a few stitches. I won't go into too much detail with this one now, because you can check all of that out on the sunny wall hanging video, because this is just an adaptation of that pattern. So here we are now, and I'm going to pop a stitch in through that one, through the back, like that, back from the front, from the back to the front, to stitch these two petals together, from the back to the front again, from the front to the back again. And so they're connected then by about 2 centimeters, maybe 2 centimeters to 1 inch, something like that, or whatever you would like to do. You can alter that to suit yourself. I'm going to thread my yarn back down to there, as I'm happy with that, and I'm going to continue now attaching my sunflower to the center all the way around, and you can do the same, pulling my stitches as I go, and continue with that now until you've got all 6 petals attached to your center sunflower section. Okay, again, don't forget to dig down and get some of that lovely stuffing as you're going around. Okay, if you find you're going off your center line a little bit, it's not the end of the world, shall we say. There we go, I've gone off a little bit, but it's still fine. And again, that's the beauty of handmade, isn't it? There's these slight differences between every make. Nothing's made on a production line to a set formula. Everything's made with love and attention and detail. There we go. Now then we are, I'm going to put another little stitch in there like that to bring me right back down to the beginning. And I'm very happy with that. Pull on my mattress stitch slightly there. I'm going to bring my yarn back to the rear of my work to hide that knot. Put my knot low down. There we go, and then hide my work in the yellow side, so we don't have any contamination popping through potentially on the darker yarn colours there. So there we are, there's our first two connected. So like I said, grab these and pop them all the way around like that, and as you go they will fit together nicely because you'll be squidging them together. Okay, so go ahead now and connect all those 6 onto your flower. Here we are at the last petal to go on, and remember when you're stitching this one on, okay, lining up, you need to stitch on the left hand one and the right hand one, so connect all the petals together. So this will be a double connector when you get to the last petal. Now start stitching it to the first petal and continue around the front, and then that's all the petals connected and fitted. Check your work as you're going, make sure you're happy with it, because you can always adjust those stitches as you come around to make sure everything is fitting in the same direction. So I'm not quite happy with that one, so I'm stitching slightly higher up there to bring it back in line with the others. To make it more circular, see we've got a little bit of a divot there, so I'm going to go a little bit higher up, catch that and bring it back down, and then that'll bring it back into line. Pull that mattress stitch one more little higher up, just so I'm happy with the way it's sitting, and I'm happy with that. So back to the back to tie off with a knot, because at the next stage you'll be hiding the back of this piece altogether with the stem back. And we're going to trim that off. Great stuff. So there's our sunflower done, dusted, looking really cute. Now all we've got is this cord here that we put as our line around the center, which has worked really well. I doubt if that's going to come out, I'll be honest with you, because I think I've caught it with my stitches, and I have indeed. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to chop it off, pull it tight and chop it off, and then that'll be gone. Job done. So there we go. A little bit of yarn chopped off there, but that was a good guide in order to get our sunflower nice and central. Whee! So let's move on to the next step. So now we're going to move on to putting the stalk on the back of our sunflower. And I have a piece here knitted on my 22 pin machine, 30 rows long, and I have got about 45 centimeters of I-cord for the stem. So let's get started on that. To make the stem stable, I've opted to use this product which I've never used before, Benny Create Aluminium Craft Wire. I am going to measure approximately, well, as my stem is 45 centimeters, I need to curl it. So let's take this out. It seems pretty stable, this stuff, actually, quite stiff. So that's 30 centimeters to there. Do this quite ad hoc. Let's take about 50 then. So let's get my metal snips. Slightly off camera there. Let's snip that, and hopefully my metal snips will break it. There we go, great stuff. So that's the stuff. I ordered it online. If you've used it, let me know how you get on with it. It seems pretty good. This is about £8, and I think, what does the box say? It's aluminium craft wire, and I believe it's 3mm, and I opted for the gold colour because, I don't know, it was a gold colour. So that's the colour we've got for that. Leave that there so you can see it. So this is it. I'm going to straighten it out as best I can, although nature isn't 100% straight. And what we need to do is to create a circle first, okay? So let's grab our sunflower. So here's the sunflower we've completed already. And what we need to know is roughly the circumference of the center section, so that we can form a circle in order to support it so it stands up in a pot and doesn't fall over. Because if it falls over, it's not going to be much use to anyone. So I'm going to be very scientific and use a little piece of yarn, and I'm going to wrap it around like that, and that's basically the circumference that I need. So let's measure this on here, and we're talking about 18 centimeters. Okay, so let's take 18 centimeters of our stem here. 18 centimeters is roughly to there. So I'm going to bend that at a right angle, and then I'm going to form it into a circle, she says. Bearing in mind, this is, apart from doing the one with the fencing wire that we've got hanging around in the sheds here, this is the first time I've done this and attached it to the flower. So This is a first for me. Okay, so there's our circle. That's going to fit. Okay, actually, that's pretty good. So what we need to do now is to bend it into the center. Let's twist that in a little bit more. It's actually very malleable, unlike the fencing wire, which took an age to get it to straighten out. So, following what I did before, we are now going to bend it into the center like that. So we're looking for that shape. Okay, I know it sounds strange, and then we are going to get the center of our circle more or less and angle it out at a right angle. So that's what we end up with, is that kind of shape going down like that. If you've got another way of doing it yourself, if you've done this before, then you don't need to watch my my attempt at doing a stem. Now the next thing is we need to attach it in some way to the back of our flower like that. Okay, so I guess you could hot glue it into place. Okay, you could hot glue it there, or you could even add some stitches. I'm going to decide now what I'm going to do in a second. So I've grabbed my glue gun here, and I've decided to glue gun mine in place. I'm usually very messy with glue, guys, alright? So here we go. Let's do a little bit of glue there like that. Squidge it all around and hope that it's enough. There we go, and let's squidge that in there like that, and I've not got it in the right place, as per usual. This isn't going to be seen, so don't panic. It's just to hold it in place so we can go on with the next stage. Let's hold that in place for a sec. Oh, and that's holding it really well, actually. There you go. It hasn't got to be pretty this stage, okay, because you will definitely not be seeing this. So moving on to the next step, we'll push this out of the way so we can cure further. Put my I-cord over there, and we're going to deal with the back piece now. This is 30 rows on the 22 pin, and we are going to put one end inside the other, like that. Now I made this a little bit too long, so it looks a little strange on the edges. Is because I took some rows out. Okay, so that's what we've got there. So bring the yarn tails through to the one side, and we're not going to cinch completely, but we are going to partially cinch, and we're going to leave a little hole like that. Okay, so we've got a partial cinch. Stick your finger in it and that'll give you enough leverage then. That's what I think. So stick your finger in there and pull those yarn tails until it cinches up around your finger, and that should be adequate for now. Pop that to one side, and now this is probably cured enough, and we've got a bit of a rough end on the top there, which you're not going to probably see very well. So I'm thinking of folding the end piece up a little bit. So I haven't got a pliers with me, so I'm going to try it with this. Bend that over like that and fold it up, and hopefully that will feed through the I-cord, but it may not with that little bit of a bump on there, but we shall soon find out. Trying to squeeze that. I could do with the pliers for that. Bear with me a sec while I go and get a plier. I can't find a proper pliers, so I'm using this larger snips that I've got hanging around, and I'm just going to squeeze this in like that. There we are, that's what we want. Is that to be folded and doubled up on itself at the bottom, so we don't have sharp edge there like that. Scrump back a little bit more, and hopefully that will be adequate enough. So there's our flower on the stem. We just need to finish off the niceties. So let's grab our I-cord now, okay, and obviously my I-cord is way too long. Alright, it's way too long. Okay, so I'm going to wind it back a little bit, and to do that it's easy peasy. Just pull it like that and it all unravels. Okay, leave the 4 stitches on the end there. Let's feed that on, that'll be fine. I'm going to cut the excess yarn off because I don't need that. So that's one good thing about I-cord, you can easily unravel it. So all we need to do now is to feed our end into the I-cord there like that, and feed it all the way down. And that noggin is a little tight, but it's okay, it's going on. I don't want any sharp edges showing through the stem and catching hands and things like that. That wouldn't be good at all. So all the way down to the bottom, that's poking out a little bit there, so we'll fluff that. There we go. We can always leave a little bit of a lump on the bottom there and fold that over. I'm going to do that, I think, and stitch that so we got a little bit of a thicker level on the bottom. So I'm going to leave about 1 inch at the bottom there, floppy, okay, so it's not all the way up. Push it all the way up the stem. It does not matter if it bags at the top there, but straighten it out so it's nice and straight, and don't pull it too tight because we don't want it to be showing that colour of the gold all the way through. So there we go, that's the I-cord on, okay, all the way on the stem, looking pretty good there, looking cool. So what we need to do now is to get this little back piece, and with this little back piece we're going to thread it onto our stem like that. So push it through the holes all the way up to the top like that. Alright, now excuse the stem sticking up. I'll try and put it out there so it doesn't affect the focus of the camera. And what we're going to do then is pull these 2 strings and tighten them around the stem like that till it cinches in. Now we'll be able to move that up and down, so cinch it in as tight as you can without breaking the yarn, of course. There we go, like that, okay. So cinch that in, job done, and we can add a few stitches to that very shortly in order to make sure it's doubly secure. So get your stuffing ready now for the next stage. I'm going to feed that tail in through there because we only need the one to add a few stitches. Chop that off. So leave that yarn tail on because we may very well need to put a few stitches on there. We may not, but leave it on there for now, just in case. And you can see what effect we're getting at here. We're going to stretch this now along there, cover up the brown completely, so it looks like the back of the flower. Okay, that's what we're going for. I'm going to need to grab a little bit of stuffing now to puff that out. So I'm just going to grab my stuffing. Don't need too much. And you can start stitching and then stuff if you like. So let's wrap this around here a second so it's not in the way. And we've got the inner piece of green here, which I'm going to actually trim off at this point in time and get a fresh piece of yarn. And I'm going to use the piece that I just chopped off my I-cord, which will be perfect. So I'm going to pop that on a darning needle. And I guess you know what's coming next. We're going to start stitching. Now push that down, push that out of the way. Grab the end of your piece of green there. I'm going to put a holding stitch in there like that. Don't worry about the tail, we can hide that inside. Push that in like that. Okay, now then grab your little green back there like that, push that tail in, and we're going to start stitching between the outer edge of it, okay, and the very edge of our yellow petals. And the aim is to cover the brown section, and that's what we're going to do all the way around. So as always I say, try and dig in and get a little bit of stuffing as well. It really does make a difference with the fixings, I find. That's the way I've always done it. And do that now all the way around, following the line, and it'll give you a lovely shape on the green section. Okay, so follow the line of where the petal joins the brown middle section. And if you do get a little bit awry, you can always touch up later on. So keep pulling it down and catching that outer edge there. Try not to wrap it around your petals, which is inevitable. Back in there, catch a little bit of stuffing if you can. And do that all the way around. This is a lovely little project because you can change the colours of this flower to suit yourself. Any colour petals that you like, any colour centre that you like. Carry on going. You don't want any of that brown showing. Following the natural curve of that yellow petal where you stitched it on before. And as you come around, it'll start centralising itself. And you can see it's coming together nicely now. We do need to pull this green section down, okay, so don't be afraid to stretch it, okay, it will stretch, and that's what we want. We want the spines of this to show, okay, like the texture that's on the back of any flower. I don't know the name of that part of the flower. I should have looked that up, shouldn't I, before I started filming this for you. Perhaps if you know the name of the back part of the flower where it sits on the back, you can let me know in the comments. So carry on going, carry on going. Push those petals down if you need to get at that join between the brown and the yellow. Pull those stitches in, nice and tight. And you can see now it's starting to form and take the shape on the back of the sunflower there. So I'm going to finish this petal here now, and then I'm going to add my stuffing. So we've got about 2 to 3 inches left to go. That'll be fine. Let's pop our stuffing in now. So while we've got a nice little gap there, because it does get quite tight, we can pop our stuffing in there like that and push it up to plump out that supporting part of the flower. There we go, it's plumping up really nicely there now. So we can double check our stuffing as we're coming around a little bit more with our stitching now in a minute. We're trying to push it in all the little nooks and crannies there, especially as we've got some wire in there. So we want to soften the effect of that wire, and you won't be able to feel it if you cover it well. So I'm going to call that a day. I think we're okay with that. And then we're going to, because we can manipulate our stuffing afterwards, and I think we're going to just finish off that stitching now. So let's pop that down there. We need to do a little bit of stretching of our green section now. But I like the way it stretches, because it stretches the stitches and they look quite natural, to be honest, in my opinion anyway. So carry on now with the stitching all the way around. Of course, if you want to use it just as the flower, you don't have to put this section on the back, you can just do the flower. And of course this pattern crosses over to the sunny wall hanging video. So if you wanted to do the sunny wall hanging video as a sunflower instead of a sun, then of course you can. It's looking really nice, and the stem is lovely and central, which is what we're looking for. And I'm not being spot on with my mattress stitch, as you can see here. I'm not grabbing 2 stitches and 2 stitches. Like I always say, I'm very ad hoc with my mattress stitch. And here we are, we're going to cover that last tiny little bit of brown there now by stitching around the angle of the dangle. That'll pull that green section down, hopefully anyway. In a perfect world, you don't want any of the brown to show. We just want it to look like the green of the back of the flower, which I wish I knew the name of. It's pulling in nicely now, pulling those stitches, and we're nearly done. All we need to do now is to tack on the leaves. If you've opted to do the leaves, you don't have to. You can completely leave the leaves out. Leave the leaves out if you want to. You don't have to do the 2 leaves. And I didn't on my prototype one, There we go, let's call that a day. I've done a knot. Feed our tails in. Job done. Snip that off now. There we go. And there's our flower stitched on the back there. Nice and plump. Now then, you can add some stitches using this if you want. You can push that down if you want to, like that, and stitch it into place, which I might very well do now to make it more flat and less bulbous, more like a sunflower. So if you push that down now, like that, take the tail that we left on and stitch it onto the back of the I-cord, like that. Just a few stitches all the way around. Apologies if I'm banging the tripod, it's the stem is catching. So there we go, just a few stitches to hold it down in place at the level that you want it to be. And again, then we can knot it off and hide the tail. And that's doubly secure then. And like I said, change the colours up. I mean, do what colours you want. I mean, you could do a rainbow flower if you want to. Use ends of yarn up. Anything like that. There we go. Let's chop that off and we'll call that done. And the final step is to add the leaves. So let's add some leaves now. And there's our flower. Isn't that just plump and gorgeous? Look at that. It's beautiful. There's a little bit of stuffing showing through on my sewing there. I will endeavour to get rid of that. Snip it off or something. But it's not the end of the world. So there you go. That's how the back of the flower will look when you've finished. And of course you can bend it then with the wire to whatever shape you want to bend it to. And hopefully it should be self-supporting. And it is. So there you go. Self-supporting, large, quite weighty sunflower. Do you know what I'm tempted to do now, guys? A little bee to go in there. Ooh, see if I've got time. If not, I'm sure you could whip up a little bee. So here are the two leaves that we prepared earlier in the project, and we are going to use the side with the line on because that looks like the spine of a leaf. So we're going to pop it onto a darning needle and figure out where on the stem you want your leaf to sit. Now I'm not going to put it too low down because if you do you might not be able to get it in the pot that you want to sit it in. So I'm going to opt to put mine, what's that, let's have a look, let's measure it for you to help you out. Probably about 2 or 3 inches down, no more than that. Yes, probably sitting at about 2.5 to 3 inches down the stem there. And I'm going to just pop a few stitches in. Keep still now, sunflower. I'm just going to pop a few stitches in there. In between there like that. And in between my leaf. Now we didn't stuff these leaves because, well, leaves aren't stuffed in general, are they? So it's only the petals that are stuffed. So I'm going to pop down there now. So stitch it on. There's no rhyme or reason to stitching this on really, because there's not an awful lot to stitch it on to, other than the very small 3mm thick wire stem here. Well, it's more than 3 because of the yarn that's on the I-cord, but that's what we're going to do. Yeah, that's pretty good. So stitch the other one on to suit yourself. I'll have it sticking out like that. That's quite nice. I think I'm going to go down the bottom a little bit and stitch the bottom onto the I-cord to stop it from wiggling about, because this I-cord does spin on the wire. One thing you don't get when you're using the pipe cleaner, the fuzzy wire, but the fuzzy wire sadly wasn't strong enough to support the sunflower, because this is quite a hefty, weighty little sunflower. So I'm going to call that one done, and I'll stitch the other one on, and then we'll do the final reveal, and you can let me know what you think of this project. one last thing. I left a little tail on the bottom of the flower, didn't I, so I could push it up, and all I'm going to do is just push it up like that and add a few little stitches in order to secure it in place. But you don't have to leave that little tail, you can bring it up flush to the end of your stem if you want to. Just showing you, that's what I'm doing here, just to have a little bit of a noggin on the bottom, and that'll be fine. So I'm just going to stitch it around both sides just to give that a little bit of extra stability there. There we go, that's fine. No finesse, just a few stitches, a knot, and feed that tail up inside there like that and chop it off. That's it, we are complete. And there's our sunflower project completed. I love it, I gotta be honest. Even though I say so myself, I really do like this project. So this is the sunflower one, and that's my prototype one, of course, which is based on the sunny wall hanging. So of course, if you wanted to change the sunny wall hanging to be the sunflower, let me just grab the sunny wall hanging. So there's the sunny wall hanging, and these two videos link together, okay? So if you wanted to change the sunny wall hanging for a sunflower, then you could. You'd have to make the smaller sunflower or do two big ones, that's entirely up to you. The row counts for the small one and the large one for the sunny wall hanging is on the sunny wall hanging video at the end, okay? And of course you just need to make a sunflower then in the same size. So you could do a wall hanging then that's a sunflower wall hanging. Okay, so you just have the small one and a big one, two big ones, two small ones, whatever size you wanted to mix and match. So the two videos, like I say, join together and they link. But this one now is going to be the sunflower video, and I hope you like this project. If you do, please let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and join me in my Facebook group. I'll put a little link on the screen there for you, so you can join me and share images of your makes. Either my patterns or other creators is absolutely fine. So don't forget, if you like this project, to maybe think about giving a small donation to a local no-kill animal shelter or animal charity next to you. That really would mean the world to me. As you know, animals are my world, really. So that would be very much appreciated. Take care of yourselves, have a very sunny summer, and I'll see you very, very soon with another project. Actually, I've got about 25 billion projects on the back burner, and I'm bringing them to you as fast as I can. Take care of yourselves. Ta-ra for now, hwyl fawr. Oh, and of course, the other thing you can do, if you wanted to, you can add the face onto the sunflower if you prefer. I prefer to leave this one plain myself, but by all means you can add a little face on there and make it even more sunshiny and smiley.